All right guys, right now we're in Nakano Broadway. Nakano Broadway is really famous for a lot of vintage items, anime, cameras, and especially watches. We're actually here for street interviews and we already made a video for it, so if you haven't seen it already, go check it out. Right now, I'm joined by my friend Chris. Can you tell us what we're doing out here in Nakano Broadway?
Yeah, sure. So, we see a lot of comments online on a bunch of different forums where people, they say they came to Nakano Broadway and, they couldn't find the watches they're looking for. I bought a lot of watches in Nakano before, so I thought I'd, introduce some shops to you guys today so you can see something a bit more affordable. Also, we're going to be doing a challenge in today's video.
So can you explain to me what this challenge is about?
Yeah, sure. So we have 100,000 yen, which is about, $600 US. And so we're going to ask me and yourself, Yuda, as well as two of our cameramen, to try and find the best watch they can, or the one they like the most, under 100,000 yen. So stay tuned for that.
All right, let's get going then.
So the first store that I'd like to introduce is called Firekids in Nakano Broadway. Basically, they're a vintage shop. They only deal with watches from 2004 and below. They have an amazing collection. You can find a lot of more reasonably priced, under 100,000 yen, Seikos, Grand Seikos, Orients, Casios, etc. But they also feature other, rare Rolexes, including things like GMT Masters 4 and 5 digits without faded bezels, as well as things up to like $40,000 to $100,000 more older, more vintage Pateks and Seiko chronometer specials, etc. So, they have a great collection. You should definitely check it out if you're in Nakano because you can find something that you love. So the piece I purchased recently is actually from Firekids. So this is a 1961 Citizen Homer with a bric-a-brac dial. Absolutely excellent condition considering the age, and you just never see them ever come off for auction really. So this is why I highly recommend Firekids. This is my second favorite shop in Nakano Broadway. It's called Samurai Joy. Essentially, they have a lot of watches from, vintage Seikos, vintage Tudors, but most of the watches there are below 100,000 yen. A few of them are around 2 to 3 grand max, but 2 to 3 grand in yen. But you can really find some nice vintage gems. Actually, my favorite watch of today, under 100,000 yen, was the green Seiko LM in here for 38,500, about $200 US. I think that's a very fair price for a great looking watch that, screams Japanese vintage. This is the third store that I recommend for people looking for more cheaper watches. It's called the Nakano Vintage Mall. In here they have stuff that's a lot more reasonably priced. Pretty much everything is under 100,000 yen. It's not just watches, so make sure you check every cabinet because they have watches all over the place as well as other antiques. What did you think about this store?
Yeah, it's always fun coming in here. They place things pretty weirdly, I guess. Every other cabinet is just, you'll find like a watch here and there. And you always have fun just looking through the stuff. I, in fact, bought a Tissot, a classic vintage Tissot watch, which will be up on the JapaneseFactory.com store. So if you're interested in, taking a look or purchasing some of our pieces, make sure to check out the website. So we're on the third floor now in Nakano Broadway at the store Kamekichi. This store has a wide range from a lot of Grand Seikos, usually the current models, not so much the older ones, as well as Cartier, Omega, and a ton of Rolexes as well. Probably in this room alone, there's about $3 million in watches. Yeah, that is absolutely true. The presentation of the store is beautiful. It has like a very Japanese feel to it. If you're just like not sure what to get, I think this is a good spot to go to because it's just a whole different types of watches and different price ranges, and definitely one of the better spots here on the third floor of Nakano Broadway. So this is the second side of Kamekichi. It's right next door. It's like the left side, I guess, to the right side, or depends which way you're facing. But this one has the more expensive models, your APs, your Vacheron Constantines, your Patek Philippe's, and a lot of pieces that are, you'd only ever seen in a museum, but you can see them all in one place. And again, this side also probably has about $5 million worth of watches.
Yeah, I think that Nakano Broadway is awesome. Even if you don't have the money for it, it's really cool to just even see it in person because a lot of these watches you probably
will never have the chance to see it in this condition. So yeah.
So the fourth store that I recommend is called Cube Style. Basically, this store is a consignment store, which means people rent out these cubes, and then in them they'll put products for sales. So in here, you know, there's not a whole lot of watches. It's mostly focused on general anime goods, vintage goods. But there are sometimes where people put in watches for sale. We saw some awesome Seiko LMs in there. Yeah, the front here as well.
I think in comparison to like a lot of the other watch stores in Nakano Broadway, this is a lot more reasonable, and not crippling to your bank. So I think this is definitely a nice little spot to check out.
So store number 5 that we recommend is this Cheese and Penne. We saw some two watches that we think are absolutely awesome, including this vintage Grand Seiko for quartz for 50,000 yen. And what did you see, Yuda?
We also found like a really cool TV dial Seiko as well. I love how it looks. It's pretty. And it was also for 20,000 yen.
So we definitely recommend checking this out if you have a chance, because there's a lot of cool and very reasonably priced watches there. And not just Japanese watches too, they also have, you know, some older Tudors, Omegas, etc.
All right, so that's the wrap up of Nakano Broadway. This was handpicked, probably our favorite stores in this area. When you come to Nakano Broadway, expect a lot of really expensive watches, but if you really do look deep inside, you can find a lot of hidden gems.
Yeah, definitely. I think today, you know, with our top 5, we gave you guys a look at, 5 stores that have a lot more reasonable prices. But certainly, you know, there's a lot of stores here that have these, expensive Rolexes, APs, Vacheron Constantines, Pateks, etc. But hopefully you found something you like. Also, now we're going to show you some of our honorable mentions.
Another honorable mention here is Jackroad and Betty. They are the largest watch dealer inside of Nakano Broadway. They have, I think, around 6 stores that also deal not just with watches but with other luxury goods. While we're here, we saw an absolutely insane Patek Philippe with factory reset diamonds. But not only that, you know, they have all sorts of Patek Philippe, triple calendars, perpetual calendars, and just the amount of watches that they have on display here is quite awesome. So it's definitely worth checking out. They do have a few watches for Grand Seiko or around that more kind of 200,000 to maybe 800,000 yen range, but they focus more on the higher end range of watches. But definitely worth checking out while you're here. You know, there's no reason not to check it out when you have some time in Tokyo.
All right, so that'll be the end of the video. Hope you enjoyed our list of choices for watch shopping. We actually have a website where we're selling vintage watches, Japanese fashion, Japanese umbrellas.
So if you're looking for cool vintage pieces from Japan at reasonable prices, as well as collaboration items, make sure to check out the JapaneseFactory.com. Also, for our challenge today on under 100,000 yen watches, we'll list ones for each member here.